Welcome back to My Moment. Once again, you're rocking with your boy Stay Humble, and I want to thank you for tuning in. We've been talking about Jesus walking on the water, and the question is, will you get out of the boat? All right? So check it out. Jesus has sent his disciples across after feeding 5,000 men, plus women and children. He sends them across the lake. He goes to pray, and then during the fourth watch, around between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., they're out on the boat and they're really struggling because the wind is coming against them. They're facing this force that's coming against them. And as they're out, they see this silhouette, this what looks like a man walking towards them, and they're terrified. They cry out in fear. They say, "Oh, it's a ghost!" And Jesus speaks to them. This is Jesus walking to them on the water, and he speaks to them and he says, "Do not be afraid, take heart." Now listen, verse 28. So Matthew chapter 14, verse 28, we got to key in on this. And Peter answered him. Peter answers Jesus, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." Now see, this is really interesting because Peter says, "Okay, Lord, if it's you out there, then tell me to come to you on the water." So why would that command piece be important? And for us to understand that, we talked about obedience brings revelation, right? And this is a relationship, not a religion. This is a relationship where we walk with God and we learn to trust him. So we need to turn quickly to Luke chapter 5 to understand why it's important for Peter to say, "Jesus, command me to come to you." So in Luke chapter 5, starting at verse 1, and I'm just going to read through this and hit on it quickly and then we're out. On one occasion, Luke chapter 5, verse 1, while the crowd was pressing in on him, that's Jesus, to hear the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, this same lake, okay? And he saw 2 boats by the lake, but the fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, which was Simon's, Peter, same guy who said, "Lord, command me to come to you on the water." And when he had finished, getting into one of the boats, which was Simon's, he asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people from the boat. So the people were pressing on him so tight. He asked Peter, look, launch out a little bit. Let me go out in the water and sit down in the boat, and I'll teach the people from the water. Verse 4, and when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." Listen, it says that he said to Simon, put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And Simon answered, "Master." Now Simon is a fisherman his whole life. Peter knows fishing, man. He says, "Master, we toiled all night and took nothing. We worked all night long. We was out on this water and we didn't catch a fish." But look at what he says. "But at your word, I will let down the nets." He says, "Because you said so, then okay, we'll go do it. We'll give it a shot. I don't think it's going to work, but we'll give it a shot." Verse 6, and when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners. Remember, there was 2 boats out there, right? They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so that they began to sink. This was a supernatural catch of fish, all right? Verse 8, but when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees saying, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." He says, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord." For he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish that they had just taken. And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men." And when they had brought their boats to the land, they left everything and followed him. Now, here's this interesting thing. They're out, right? and they're washing their nets, and Jesus says to after teaching, go out into the deep and let down your nets. He gives a command to Peter. And Peter says, well, you know what? All of my experience says we're not going to catch nothing because we catch more fish at night, and we were out all night and didn't catch a thing. So really, it doesn't make sense for me to go do this. But at your word, Lord, at your word, we'll let down our nets. And they go out and they let down their nets and they pull in this catch that is so great that they have to signal to their homies in the other boat like, yo, come help. Yo, the fish is too crazy. The other boat comes over, they get all the nets in, and as they put them in the boats start to sink. Both boats start to sink because of how great a catch of fish they had. And Peter recognizes immediately, it says they were all astonished, but Peter said immediately, Lord, depart from me. From a sinful man. He recognizes, there's so much more to this Jesus than just what I see. I say all that to say, Peter in verse 28 says, Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water. And the reason he asked Jesus to command him to come is because Peter knew if he commands it, then I'll be able to do it. How would he know that? Because his experience now tells him when he told us to go out and put our nets down in the water, that catch of fish was insane. So now as he tells us to move, if he says, come to me on the water, even though I've been on water my whole life, I done bathed in it, I done fished in it, I washed my nets in it, I know the properties of water and that it's impossible to walk on water. But if Jesus says so, I can do it. My friends, whatever Jesus is calling you to do, the command that he's giving you to walk out, my friends, he will bring it to pass. Trust him. Look back at your life. Look back at your past experiences where he has come through time and time again, and trust him in this new thing he's calling you to do. Amen? So God bless you guys, man. Grace and peace. This is your moment.